Have you ever had the strange feeling that your life is moving, but you're not sure where it's going? From the outside, everything may look normal. You wake up, work, talk to people, follow routines. Yet somewhere inside, there is a quiet confusion, a sense that you're drifting without direction. You look at others who seem certain about their path, and you start wondering what's wrong with you. Why do they know where they're going, while you feel stuck between possibilities? This feeling of being lost is deeply unsettling, because it challenges the story you tell yourself about who you are and where your life is heading. But feeling lost does not mean you are broken. In many cases, it means something inside you has started questioning the path you've been walking. You're following a path that was never truly yours. Sometimes the feeling of being lost does not come from lack of direction, but from walking in a direction that was never truly yours. Many people choose their path based on what feels expected rather than what feels meaningful. Family expectations, social pressure, financial security, or the simple desire to fit in can quietly shape the decisions that build a life. At first, these choices seem reasonable. You follow the path that appears safe, practical, or admired by others. But over time, a subtle tension begins to grow. Outwardly, everything may look stable: work, routine, responsibilities. Yet internally, something feels misaligned. This happens because the mind recognizes when actions no longer reflect genuine values. The Stoics believe that fulfillment comes from living in accordance with one's nature, meaning that your choices must resonate with who you truly are, not just with what the world approves of. When life is built primarily on external expectations, motivation slowly fades. Tasks become obligations rather than expressions of purpose. Achievements feel strangely empty because they validate goals that never fully belong to you. Imagine walking for years along a road only to realize you never chose the destination yourself. The exhaustion you feel is not simply from the distance traveled, but from the realization that the journey may not lead where your deeper instincts want to go. This is why many people feel lost, even when their lives appear organized and successful. The problem is not chaos, but misalignment. Being lost is sometimes the mind's way of questioning a path that once made sense, but no longer reflects who you are becoming. You have too many choices. Feeling lost is not always caused by having too few opportunities. In many cases, it comes from having too many. Modern life offers an overwhelming number of paths, careers, lifestyles, and identities you could pursue. At first glance, this freedom seems empowering. You are told that you can become anything, go anywhere, reinvent yourself at any moment. But unlimited options can quietly create a different problem: paralysis. When there are countless directions to choose from, every decision begins to feel risky, because selecting one path means leaving many others behind. The mind starts questioning every choice. What if another path would have been better? What if you commit to something and later regret it? Instead of moving forward, you remain suspended between possibilities. The Stoics understood that clarity often emerges from commitment, not endless comparison. Yet the modern environment encourages constant evaluation, making people believe they must identify the perfect path before taking action. This expectation creates pressure that no real decision can satisfy. Imagine standing at a crossroads with hundreds of roads extending in every direction. The longer you analyze them, the harder it becomes to take the first step, because each road represents both opportunity and sacrifice. Over time, the mind interprets this hesitation as confusion about life itself. In reality, the problem is not that your path is hidden, but that too many possibilities compete for your attention. Direction usually appears only after movement begins. A path becomes meaningful, not because it was perfect from the start, but because you chose it and allowed experience to shape where it leads next. You're comparing your life to others. Feeling lost often intensifies when you measure your life against the lives of others. Human beings naturally compare themselves to the people around them, but in the modern world, this comparison has expanded far beyond immediate circles. Through social media and constant exposure to curated success, you are shown thousands of versions of what a successful life is supposed to look like. Careers advancing quickly, relationships appearing perfect, people announcing achievements, travels, milestones. When you see enough of these images, it begins to create the impression that everyone else knows exactly what they are doing. Meanwhile, your own life feels uncertain, unfinished, or slow by comparison. This perception quietly erodes confidence in your path. The Stoics warned about this tendency long before the digital age. They believed that peace of mind comes from focusing on your own actions, rather than measuring your progress against external standards. When attention shifts outward, clarity disappears. You begin to evaluate your choices through someone else's timeline, rather than your own values. Imagine walking through a forest while constantly watching other travelers, instead of the path beneath your feet. Eventually, you lose sight of where you are going, not because your path vanished, but because your attention left it. Comparison also creates unrealistic expectations, since most people reveal only their highlights while hiding confusion, mistakes, and uncertainty. The result is an illusion that everyone else is moving confidently while you alone feel uncertain. In reality, many people share the same doubts, but rarely express them openly. The more you compare, the more lost you feel, because your life begins to look like a deviation from a story that was never truly real. You're afraid to make the wrong choice. Sometimes the feeling of being lost has less to do with confusion and more to do with fear. Many people hesitate to choose a direction because they are deeply afraid of choosing the wrong one. Every major decision seems heavy with consequences: career paths, relationships, life goals. The mind begins to imagine future regret before the choice has even been made. What if you commit to something and later realize it wasn't right? What if you waste years going in the wrong direction? This fear can quietly trap you in a state of endless thinking without movement. Instead of exploring possibilities through action, you remain suspended in analysis, hoping that perfect certainty will eventually appear. The Stoics warned that waiting for perfect conditions often leads to inaction. They believed that wisdom comes from responding to life as it unfolds, not from predicting every possible outcome beforehand. Yet, modern culture places enormous pressure on people to get it right the first time, as if life were a single, irreversible decision rather than a long process of adjustment. Imagine standing at the edge of a path, but refusing to walk because you cannot see the entire journey ahead. The longer you wait, the more intimidating the first step becomes. Ironically, avoiding the wrong choice often leads to the most limiting choice of all: remaining exactly where you are. Movement, even imperfect movement, reveals information that thinking alone cannot provide. Paths become clearer through experience, not speculation. Being lost does not always mean that the road is missing. Sometimes it means that fear has convinced you not to begin walking. You're growing into a new version of yourself. Sometimes feeling lost is not a sign that you are failing, but a sign that you are changing. Growth rarely happens in a clean, predictable way. It often begins with a quiet dissatisfaction toward things that once felt normal. Goals that used to motivate you lose their intensity, routines feel heavier, and parts of your life that once seemed meaningful start to feel strangely out of place. This creates a confusing experience, because nothing dramatic may have happened externally, yet internally, something important is shifting. The Stoics understood that life moves through phases of development. A person who is learning, reflecting, and becoming more aware cannot remain identical to who they were before. As your understanding deepens, your priorities begin to reorganize. But there is usually a period where the old structure no longer fits while the new one has not fully formed. This in-between space feels uncomfortable because identity itself becomes uncertain. Imagine shedding an old layer of skin before the new one has hardened. You are more exposed, less defined, unsure of what shape the next stage will take. Many people interpret this discomfort as proof that they are lost or broken. In reality, It may simply mean that the version of life that once worked for you has reached its limit. The emptiness you feel is not necessarily a void. It can be the space required for something new to emerge. Growth often begins with disorientation because transformation requires leaving behind familiar structures. Instead of asking why you feel lost, it may be more useful to ask what part of your life is quietly preparing to evolve.